This Christmas, remember, your favorite author is also a small business. Check out the Tiki Man and the Viking YouTube channel for our Small Business Saturday ad and several other local author books. And happy holidays from Tiki Man and the Viking.
Welcome to our last episode in the 2025 season. This year has been good for Tiki Man and the Viking. Both HB and I had new books released, interviewed several local authors, a Kansas notable author, and expanded our interviews to others outside the area, including an interview with one of my favorite authors, Jim Butcher. We hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Feel free to reach out to us at tikimanviking@gmail.com with questions or comments. In this episode, we conclude our interview with Eckhard Gerdes. Here's to a pleasant winter solstice and hopes for your new year. We'll see you soon. And as always, read a book.
That's fascinating.
That's
Where do you see yourself going? I mean, you've been writing for a long period of time. You've taught, you've done short fiction, the massive tome. What's next? Is there something conscious, or is it just you're going to just wake up tomorrow morning and figure out what you want to do next? What's the
It's
game
really,
plan?
I wait. I wait. I had a friend who's a writer who wrote to me that he was upset because he thought he had writer's block. He hadn't been able to write anything for 6 months. And I said, well, don't panic. That's not writer's block. I'm with you. I don't believe in writer's block. I think we inhale and exhale. And there's no way we can exhale all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when we have to gather and collect and inhale. And then when it's ready, it will come out. And if it wants to come out as a sonnet, and I've been writing some sonnets recently, just going back to poetry, if it comes out as a sonnet, it comes out as a sonnet. If it's going to be a novel, it'll announce itself as a novel to me pretty quickly. But I have to be, I have to listen to what the work wants to be. And so I'm sure I make mistakes. I'll start something and I'll go, this is not going anywhere. Put that aside. Like Ken Kesey had his demon box, he called it. All of his scraps of ideas he put into a cigar box on his desk. And when he was out of ideas, he just reach in and pull one out and say, okay, maybe I can do something with this. So I set those aside, those fragments. And sometimes they come back and I'm like, oh, this is where this goes. And other times they're just going to be set aside indefinitely, maybe never to be returned to. But that's okay.
It's all those folders we have on our computer as of other times we tried to write a story and they've just kind of sat there.
Yep.
I definitely have those. I think HB does too.
Yeah, I've actually got some manila folders that are in a tiered rack over here to the side so there's a combination of things. And of course, back in the day it was typewriter, word processor. Now it's the laptop and the cloud and the technology has changed for all of us here tonight. But it's the notion of writing. Now, I mean, for me, and I know you mentioned that, storytelling is only part of it, especially in your work. I mean, for me, that's all I want to do is just tell a story. Now, the way in which I do it could be unique, different. My series right now features a Jewish private detective, and I reference Old Testament scripture. I reference Talmud. I reference Yiddish and Jewish words, and I don't do translations. I put them in there, and it's
Sure.
the reason is if you're talking to that character and he says these things, you're not going to go, hold up a second, I got to look that up. You might ask him what it means, or the person he's talking to might know what that means. By the same token, there's more than just the story going on. So I find I'm not writing experimental fiction, but I'm writing, like you pointed out, I'm writing to please myself and I enjoy it. And I hope that I come across a reader like yourself that goes, hey, this guy had a good time writing this. It looks like he enjoyed himself. I don't think a lot of readers pay attention to that.
I don't either.
I think that they're so imbued with the story and whether they're impressed by the story that they don't see or appreciate what the writer has done. Now, is there anything wrong with that?
No, no. Again, there's so many different paths to get there, and everybody has to choose their own path. Right? The only thing I'd warn people about is don't be somebody else. Yeah. So don't be James Patterson. That's already been done. Don't be
Yeah,
Janet Daly.
yeah.
That's already been done. Don't be Stephen King. That's already been done. You have to be who you are, and that the writing process helps with that. It helps us become more self-aware, become more aware of where we are vis-a-vis everything else in the world. And that shows itself through
And
our
it's
writing.
it's funny because I have a little side project that came up over the summer, and it's something I've never written before. Most of my stories, if you can't tell, are kind of dark. And this was more
Yeah.
real world and just kind of came to me after a funeral. And it's like I've got to write this. This is a fun idea, and it's kind of one of the things I partially wrote over the summer. And I had fun writing it, and I'm curious to see what the reaction's going to be when it comes out.
Well, that's excellent. That's excellent. You mean middle-aged man in a trash can is a dark story?
It is happy-go-lucky for part of it, and it gets pretty dark. It's a multiverse.
Yeah.
It's a homeless guy walking around Fort Wayne, Indiana, and he has amnesia. And whenever he gets in trouble, he opens up a trash can and it opens a six-dimensional rift. And he jumps in and it pops him out in another version of Fort Wayne, Indiana, same date, same time. And it works on his memory every time he goes through. He tends to lose time and he forgets things.
I think that's very creative. I
And
like that. Yeah.
and he's trying to find his way home, and he has a kitsune traveling companion that's a little Asian folklore fox, a little kind of fairy fox spirit that runs around with him, and he knows more than he should. So, but yeah,
And
that's my fun story, and it's got a choose
it's
your own adventure ending to it too.
it's interesting too because it is in one regard one of Brian's more accessible stories because even though it is this multiverse, his fantasy novel is a world building type thing where there's a lot going on. There is a lot going on in Middle Aged Man and Trash Can. It's just that it's compressed,
Hmm.
fewer characters, but there's still you need to pay attention. Uh, when you okay, obviously, Chronicles of Michel du Jabot was your big one with all these characters. In a typical novel of yours, is it expansive or is it like more like a play where there's a handful of characters? What do you prefer, I should say?
I like to keep it small. My father always used to talk about the mystery in the ordinary, and so I
Okay.
like small, constrained kind of environments. Now, Chronicles, blasted all that
Right,
wide
right.
open, but for the shorter fiction, yeah, I'm keeping it kind of constrained and in a recognizable world of the strange things that happen, but it is recognizable, and I think you have to have that kind of baseline so that the other things, when they play off of it, are noticeable.
Right, right.
If everything is all chaotic, then nothing will make sense. So I have to have some kind of steady rhythm going through the writing, whether it's the story, whether it's a character, something has to be a continuous thread for it to work for me.
No,
I
it
keep going back to I think it was the House of Broken Leaves
Hmm.
was an experimental book that came out many,
no
many years ago.
House of Leaves, Mark is it House of
Danielewski, yeah, Mark Danielewski.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I
yes.
got
And
that. Sorry.
that is one I have to go back to because I've tried reading it a few times and just it's I guess I just wasn't there, wasn't in the mood, but it's one that I've always wanted to read.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get through that one either. Tell you the truth, there's just way too much film stuff in there for me. But that's just because I don't know much about that and didn't have much interest in it.
Mm.
But I can see that he put a lot of effort into that. I know he went to the was it Pantheon, I think, published that, and he went to their publishing headquarters and worked on it there on their
Oh wow.
computers because it was so complicated to do.
Wow.
He had to do it on theirs. with all of the typographical kind of
Right,
Right.
right.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the spirals and the weird things that would happen in the pages. Yeah, it was an intense book.
And yet, I mean, I've read, I think it's Filth by Irvine Welsh, which, as it progresses throughout the novel, there is a tapeworm that takes over several pages and blocks the typography, and you're like, how am I supposed to read this? And it does, challenge you. Look, in our intro for you, there was also reference besides novelist, poet, and playwright. Do you consider your poetry and your plays to be of an experimental or innovative nature as well?
No, not really. It's kind of interesting, that my poetry, the probably the most successful book of poetry I had was called 23 Skidoo, where I had 23 fixed forms, and I used fixed form poetry, very traditional forms. But of course, I played with them, and I
Right.
did odd things with them. But I like sometimes having those constraints, just like the Uli Poen, kind of constraints. Um, because those are challenging too, to work within the constraint that sometimes forces new ideas where you wouldn't have expected because
Exactly.
you have to
Exactly.
have the words kind of fit the form. Um, so I think my poetry is pretty recognizable and structured. As I
Okay.
said, I'm writing sonnets now, and that's a pretty recognizable form. And I'm just using the Shakespearean sonnet form. Of
Hmm.
course, I'm having some fun with it, but I keep to the meter and I keep to the rhyme scheme. Um, and that's fun too, to sometimes do the constrained work. My plays, well, one of them was called Subird, which is absurd, spelled sideways,
Hmm.
and and it was kind of an absurdist play, and that was fun. I'm not really a working playwright. I don't really spend time around the theater. I didn't ever in college or anything, but I admire it. I enjoy it. So I wrote three short plays, and I haven't done much with the play as a form.
But you are in Chicago, and you are a lot closer to a lot of different artistic venues than we are here in Wichita.
Maybe I don't get out too much, to go around. Being wheelchair bound and everything is kind of difficult
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
But I used to tool around in the city, lived in the city for a long time, and went to all sorts of different readings and events, and occasionally I'll go down there. There's a great bookstore in Chicago called Quimby's, and I love going there. I've done
Cool.
readings there several times, uh, and I like the environment. But there's not as much as there used to be. There used to be so much more
True.
for the literary arts. Beautiful bookstores. Barbara's Bookstore used to be an old town. Down there, the hippie old town there that was around for a long time. It's a beautiful bookstore. I worked there for a while as a young guy as a store clerk, and it was a blast. We had Allen Ginsberg come in and William Burroughs
Oh.
come in, and
Oh. Oh.
it was just incredible. When Ginsberg was there, it was after he won the Nobel Prize. There, the people were in the rafters. I mean, the place was so full. I'm surprised the fire marshal didn't come in. So you don't see that anymore. I don't think who would crowds come out for it on masse. Hillary Swank, or somebody, but not a great literary figure.
Right. I mean that we're down to sports figures. We're down to
Musicians.
the musicians. Yeah, we'll crowd that. We'll spend $100 on a 90-minute show just because there's fireworks and flash and glitz and
Spectacle.
glamour. Yeah, right. But yeah, you are right. There's fewer of those literary giants, and because I think COVID probably had a lot to do with that too. We've gotten ourselves confined in our homes, and we're not going out. We're not doing readings. We're not going to readings. We can do all of this, online. I mean, look at this right now. It's not like Brian and I could afford to fly up to Chicago, mind you, but the fact that we have this opportunity to interview somebody at
There
a
is a train.
distance. There is a train, but don't forget, Brian, we'd have to leave at like 3 in the morning.
Well, I
Okay.
could do it. I mean, drink some coffee. You'll be fine.
I'm an early bird. I could do that. That'd be
Chicago's a
fun.
fun city. It's a good
Yes,
place.
we might one day visit you, sir, and we'll have
That would be great.
all three beards coming together in one fell swoop. This is likely the largest or the most facial hair interview that we've done. Again, with our tagline being "Where stories go wild and beards grow wilder." You are the epitome of that tagline for sure.
As are you two.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Great beards.
Thank you. I actually came in second place in a beard contest recently.
Oh, fantastic! That's amazing.
Yes. What would you like to leave listeners with in terms of experimental, innovative fiction, or just writing in general? I mean, either as a writer or as a teacher, what do you want to tell people about writing? Go.
Claim it. Claim it. It's a tool that we all have at our disposal. Learning how to do it, learning the different mechanisms by which we can do it is a joy. I enjoyed studying it. I enjoyed playing with it. I think if people get into it and start playing with it, they will find the joy in it. And it's kind of like being introduced to pottery for the first time. You may think, oh, I'll never do that. Once you get your hands in there and you start feeling the clay in your hands, it's addictive. And
that's for sure.
And I think that's it. Look for a way to make it joyful for yourself. Writing should be joy. And I tell my students sometimes, when I'm dismissing them for the weekend, I said, happy writing. Of course, that doesn't need to be said because all writing is happy. I mean, the expression, even if it's expressing anguish or despair, getting it out creates a sense of relief.
Exhaling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because we're reading Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury.
Oh, yeah.
And I have geeked out over a couple portions of that book. One of them today was just character went through a beaded curtain. And it talked about the sound of rain and how it was so reminiscent of thunderstorms. And I'm like, go back and reread that. That was cool.
Yeah. Oh, Bradbury was great. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean the good works really, the ones that we read as kids, they resonate still, and they resonate differently because we're adults now and we've been through more. And you're like, I remember reading The Razor's Edge by Mom at a very bleak time in my life, and it got me through. And I don't know if I've reread it in the last 30 years, but I will always have an affinity for the book because of what it did for me at that point in my life. So that's on the shelf, the emotional one as well as the physical one. So books do resonate.
How many classes are you teaching right now?
Oh, yeah.
I'm teaching 6 right now.
Oh, whoa. Wow. What all over?
Mostly English comp, freshman
okay.
comp. 1 creative writing class and 1 business writing class.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. The creative writing class is my joy.
Yeah.
How are the freshmen these days in terms of writing?
Well, they have challenges. The biggest challenge, of course, we're facing is this whole thing with the AI.
Yeah.
But I don't get that much that I recognize as AI. I use plagiarism software, turn it into stuff. But I read them the riot act on day one. I say, don't you dare do this. You're going to get booted out of the class for sure, and probably out of the college if you try to pass off somebody else's writing. Speaking of Bradbury, that was in one of my creative writing classes. It's funny. This one joker in the class turned in a story to me, and I was reading, and I'm like, whoa, this is good. This is too good. No student writes this well. And just on a hunch, I did a search, a couple of sentences from it. It came up, it was published in Maclean's in 1953, a Ray Bradbury story.
Oh, wow.
He tried to pass off a Ray Bradbury story, and I confronted him with it. I said, this is a Ray Bradbury story. And he's like, well, I wrote it. Maybe we just came up with the same thing. It's like, yes, word for word, a 10,000 word story, identical.
He was channeling Bradbury.
I went to a seance and I had this impulse and I had all these words in my head. This has been enjoyable, impressive, educational.
And fun.
Thank you. And fun.
Thank you.
And fun from that standpoint. Brian, tell them how we always end our interviews.
Always end the interview with us going, read a book.
Read a book.
Read a book.
That's it. Just plain out read a book. Eckhard Gerdes, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And when the book comes out, The Land of the Lost Simulacra, you let us know when we'll
Black
chat
Scat
with you
books.
again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Will do.
Thanks for your time
Well,
this
thank
evening.
you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Tiki Man and the Viking Podcast brought to you by Rumination of Thunder Media. The following intro and outro music was used for this media project. The music Find Them by Alexander Nakrata. Free download from filmmusic.io. License Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International.